Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about kind of what are my politics, my beliefs, how I stand on certain issues. Because if you look at a lot of the contact, you'll probably think like I have Trump derangement syndrome, and then I'm just some 15-year-old liberal who doesn't know what he's talking about. And that is kind of true. Make sure you always take my thoughts about certain issues with a grain of salt, just because I'm not really I'm a high school kid. I still want you to value what I have to say, because I think more teens need to have their voices be heard, but also just know that I am a teen that might not have as much life experience as a normal adult person. Okay, so first of all, with issues like the economy, I would say I'm liberal. I oppose a lot of those tariffs. I tend to lean towards free trade. I also favor tariffs sometimes when a certain industry is at risk. When it comes to taxation, I do favor taxing the rich. It's just a very common liberal policy, but I'm not opposed to giving tax cuts to working class people and seniors, that people who really need tax cuts. But to the people who, the billionaires of this world, or of this country, that should be paying their fair share, and who can deal with the brunt of who can bear the price, they should be paying their fair share. I know that's a very stereotypical liberal answer. And then issues like immigration, I'm actually more conservative. I think that we should be deporting legal immigrants who have committed crimes, serious crimes like rape, murder, and robbery. Those kinds of people, no matter what ethnicity or nationality they are, do not belong in this country, especially if they're undocumented. For those who are actually working here, I do think there needs to be a path to citizenship. I think that those who we do deport, I think we need to make sure that that's done for a legal process before we just deport them like the Trump administration is doing right now. I think that we need comprehensive immigration reform. Right now, just the system for how to we shouldn't be criminalizing asylum, and also the system for how people can become a citizen takes way too long. People are waiting for decades before they can get here. It's just not good. And then issues like healthcare, I'm open to Medicare for all. I also know that it's not very realistic in terms of who would actually support that. There are some Democrats who do not support it in Congress, in the Senate. But yeah, things like the public option, I support Obamacare. I think that we need cheaper healthcare. Obamacare hasn't really helped with that, so I think that we need a new healthcare plan. We haven't had any major healthcare changes since Obamacare, so I think we need something like that. Issues like abortion, I tend to be pro-choice, but I also think that there should be some bans on maybe late-term, third trimester abortions. Of course, there's exceptions for if the baby is stillborn and the mother's life is at risk. I really think that Roe v. Wade shouldn't have been overturned. I think that there should be a protection for abortion, because we're seeing so many people die. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I support exceptions for rape or incest or the death of the mother," but you might support that, but in most Republican states that have abortion bans, they are really limiting to, like, doctors are so afraid of losing their license that they literally won't give even a mother's whose child has been stillborn. So I think that's really wrong. On issues sort of like race, like discrimination, I'm against discrimination and that sort of thing. DEI, I think, really needs to have a better messaging on how it like articulates which people are getting accepted into those programs. I think DEI is really just more aimed at low income families. So, but there's this false narrative that it's only for the people of color, but I think that's false, or that is false. It tends to be for just favoring those who don't have the same opportunities as someone who might come from a rich family. Now you can make the kid. You can also say that, well, most of those low-income families tend to be people of color, but that's a whole different story. Issues like LGBTQ, I'm pro-gay marriage. I'm pro-trans rights issues. There's a lot of I don't want to get into the specifics, but there's a lot of gray area and different parts that it's just hard to follow. I think that the culture war as a whole is really a silly thing. Trying to force other people to have the same who don't believe in the same cultural values as you to do the same thing that you want them to do is just wrong on either side. And the final one is foreign policy. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. Foreign policy, I tend to be non-interventionist. I usually favor just making sure that we don't get into foreign wars or things like. I think that we should be handling the the Ukraine war as diplomacy. I think we should be trying to. I mean, I know Trump's doing that, but I think we should really be trying, instead of sending weapons, to try and mitigate that crisis. And that's the thing about Trump, is that everyone thinks that he's such a good deal maker, but somehow he wasn't able to make a deal with any foreign policy. Even the Gaza deal, immediately got broken. And I also think Israel should be, or AIPAC should be named a foreign lobbyist. Too many politicians are accepting AIPAC money, so I think that that's wrong. But yeah, that's my politics. If you have any questions for me, if you want to know some more specifics, I'll be happy to answer the question. All right, bye.